We're going to see a mechanism for doing a strong authentication that, unlike many that are out there, is completely uh, uh, immune to man-in-the-middle attacks. It can detect man-in-the-middle attacks. The ideas presented here are protected under a US patent given before here. This is IBM intellectual property. I just happen to be the inventor of this patent. And other ideas are also covered by other patents that have already been filed. So let's get into the matters. In order to make this work, what we need to set up is a relatively simple infrastructure in which an IVR or voice response unit gets connected via a service with the telco providers in the US are the ones shown in here. And this is a service that they provide where you reserve a service call. In this case, the number is #26. So if you dial #26 from a Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, or T-Mobile phone, you're going to be automatically connected to this RVR, immediate connection. There's no routing. This is a very fast service. And also the call is free to the user because the entity that set this up is the one that pays for the service. So again, free calls to the user. The other part of the infrastructure is simple. There's web services communication between this entity here and obviously the IVR via web services that make that secure with mutual authentication. Now the user, let's say that the user here is Mary. Mary has registered her phone with the application that needs to do the strong authentication in here. So we know what Mary's phone number is. This one over here, 914-576-9203. And Mary is using any browser or smartphone. We'll see later how this also works with tablets and other devices without any agents to be installed in there, and also immune to man-in-the-middle attacks. So let's say that Mary it's performed his user ID and password, and she's doing a transaction. And at one point, this service, let's say this is a financial service, wants to make sure that Mary is actually needs to step up the authentication and prove that she is really she by proving possession of her phone. That's pretty simple. So what at the moment that Mary, let's say that she wants to do a transaction of $500 to her son in Florida, and when she's about to commit the transaction, the system sends a message that says, Mary, from your phone, which we know what it is because you registered it before, dial #426 and enter this one-time token, 9275. So this is a 4 digits for simplicity. At the same time that the application is telling that to Mary, it actually sent a message to the IVR indicating I'm expecting phone number 914-567-9203 to enter this token 9275. So that stuff gets stored in the queue, and the IVR is watchful for that when that happens. So very simply, when Mary dials #426 from whatever provider that she has, immediately after she dials #426, she's connected to the IVR, and she immediately dials the 9246 one-time password. And when that happens, it's actually very fast. A message is sent back, a reply to that request is sent back to the application saying, well, that transaction that you event that you asked me to watch for, which is that phone number entering that OTP, just happened, and that closes the authentication. So this is actually very simple. Advantages of the mechanism is that because the call is outgoing, this is very important, you don't have the problem of waiting for the message or having the message into the voicemail, which happen quite often. How many times have you been with your phone with 7 bars, all good connectivity, but if there's congestion on the service provider side or any other reason, the call goes into your voicemail and not directly to the person. because this is outgoing, that doesn't happen. Now let us see why this is immune or can detect man-in-the-middle attacks. So let us use this file in here. And the situation in which we are right now is Mary's machine has been compromised, and we can see that she has the spy eye, Trojan horse, and all sort of malware in her device. And let's say that Mary goes again and she's going to do the transaction with the bank. And actually, by the way, what I'm describing here is the susceptibility that basically every strong authentication mechanism has. So when Mary, let's say that she's been phished and she thinks that she's going to her bank, but actually what she's doing is she's going to this Trojan website by virtue of the Trojan horse making it think that she's going to the actual bank. And this Trojan horse knows that bank X. He knows the layout of the bank, and he's going to make it look like Mary is actually going to that bank, has happened before several times. So when Mary is about to make the $500 transaction to an account in Florida where her son is studying and he needs some more money, the Trojan has captured Mary's credential, user ID and password. That was actually very easy, and it knows the layout of the bank, so it goes to that particular bank on a separate session using Mary's credential, and it's preparing to do a different kind of transaction. It knows what the balance that Mary has is, and it's going to transfer, let's say, $9,000 that she has on her account to an account in St. Petersburg. That's not what Mary wants, but that's what the Trojan horse. And then, like any other strong authentication mechanism, the Trojan horse is going to ask Mary, please, using your strong authentication mechanism, it gets the OTP from the bank. Okay, let's say that is 9270. It can be any number. So the bank is sending this transaction to the IVR saying, hey, I'm expecting that phone number 914-567-9203 to enter this OTP 9270. So the Trojan says, Mary, please, what you think is you're sending money to your son, please use your strong authentication mechanism, which is your phone, to actually allow me to move all your money to St. Petersburg. Mary does that, and the cycle is completed. But this mechanism has some extra protection. Besides the fact that it can do geolocation and so very many other things that I'm not going to go into detail here, it can do something very simple. When it sends the request, the application sends the request to the IVR. It's going to send characteristics of the transaction. So in this particular case, it's going to say to the IVR, well, it's $9,000 that I'm transferring to St. Petersburg. And that's on the IVR. So when Mary dials #426 and she's connected to the IVR and she enters the OTP that the bank passes to the Trojan and the Trojan is passing to Mary, 9270, she is going to listen to the characteristic of the transaction. And when Mary hears that this is something about St. Petersburg and a different amount of money, she can, for example, press 1 to cancel that transaction. And the Trojan horse has been put in evidence, and the user can actually very easily, very simple, can reject the transaction. This works with any phone. It can be, the simplest phone of the world, or it can be actually a combination of a smartphone and a browser. And yet, because typically, let's say, if you have it on your iPhone, which is hard to get infected anyway, but let's say that that's the case, you get infected, and it will not have the capability of actually doing the automatic dialing from the phone if it is properly sandboxed. So again, this is a mechanism for strong authentication that can detect man-in-the-middel attacks. If this is of your interest or you want to send any comment, you can do so by writing to me at jadebravo@us.ibm.com. us.ibm.com. Again, jbravo at us.ibm.com. Look forward to your comments. Thank you for listening.